This morning, the presidential election is too close to call. We are tracking results from some of the biggest battleground states across the country.
And right here in the inland Northwest, record-breaking turnout. I'm in the Up with KREM Election Center with breaking news all morning long.
And speaking of turnout, we are talking with the Spokane County Elections Office today about the ballots that still need to be counted. Join us at 7:45 for that interview.
And we've got clouds today. I'm going to let you know about why those are a sign of a changing weather pattern and what that means for your weekend.
.30 now on your Wednesday morning. Thank you for joining us on a special edition of Up with KREM today. We are your election center this morning.
Yeah, that's right. We're tracking results all morning long. You can check them out at the bottom of your screen right now. You can also find results in the KREM 2 app or by texting us results at 509-448-2000. In the meantime, let's get to breaking news first. This morning, we want to get a live look at the U.S. stock market. It just opened moments ago. So taking a live look at the big board right now, let's take a look at what it's showing. You can see the Dow Jones is up right now. Wall Street futures swung dramatically between gains and losses earlier this morning. The closer than expected voting results in the U.S. presidential election has sent markets seesawing. Wall Street and the financial industry executives urge caution as the votes continue to be tabulated. A drawn-out count could trigger a bumpy ride in the market today. Traders are also grappling with the prospect of a contested result, which could hinder the ability to pass a new coronavirus relief package quickly. Now this morning we are getting a closer look at the race for the White House. This morning our political reporter Casey Decker joining us. Good morning, Casey.
Well, good morning, Tim, and we're going to talk actually a little bit now about the race for Congress here in Eastern Washington. That, of course, is a seat currently held by Representative Kathy McMorris-Rodgers. Let's go ahead and take a look at the results that we had coming in from last night. Now we can see there, that's actually all right, that looks like we're going to take a look first at the state legislature, and we've got Representative Mike Volz here in the 6th district. That's Spokane County. It's kind of the eastern part and the southern part and the western part and the northern part. It's a pretty wide section of Spokane County. House District 6 is for the state legislature. That's people who go to Olympia to represent Spokane there. And the incumbent Republican Mike Volz currently leading with 51% of the vote. Now that race is interesting to me because that particular district is usually pretty conservative, but as you can see there, it's a very tight race between Volz and Zappone. Now Zach Zappone is a young candidate. He's a teacher. He went to Georgetown and Princeton, an educated guy. He came in and he ran a pretty strong campaign there. Obviously, this one is pretty much too close to call. Still only a handful of votes left to count, but you can see it's a close race there. But the incumbent, Representative Mike Volz, is still leading. And we can go ahead and take a look at the other position then, I believe, in District 6. That's position 2. Go ahead and switch this slide and take a look at that one as well. And you can see there the incumbent Republican Jenny Graham also leading in that race by a little bit wider majority. That actually makes sense to me. She's more of a high-profile representative compared to Representative Mike Volz. And she has garnered actually a little bit of controversy. She's pretty well known for her positions against human trafficking. That's a big issue for her. But in the process of advocating against human trafficking, she's also shared some posts on Facebook that linked to conspiracy theories. That gained a lot of attention, even some national attention for her response to articles about it. She cursed at a reporter. Anyway, she's a controversial figure, but she's still leading here 53-47. And it's looking like most likely she will stay in Olympia for Eastern Washington. All right, let's take a look at another race then as well while we're at it. Go ahead and there we go. We've got that race for Congress that I was talking about earlier. Kathy McMorris-Rodgers looking like she's going to stay in D.C. representing Eastern Washington, 59% of the vote. The Associated Press calling that race for her. An impressive showing for her. In 2018, she had a tight contest with Lisa Brown. She won with 55% of the vote. So right now looking like she's improving on her race just 2 years ago. Dave Wilson there, he's the Democratic candidate. He wasn't exactly the strongest candidate the Democratic Party has ever run in that seat. He actually only recently even decided to become a Democrat. He's run for that seat twice before as an independent. This year he decided to run as a Democrat. He didn't have a lot of qualifications. He didn't raise a lot of money. Democrats really not seeming to try too hard to try to unseat Kathy McMorris Rodgers this time around after really going all out in 2018. They spent a lot of money on Lisa Brown. They tried their best in those midterm elections, and they still came up short. So it looks like this year they weren't really willing to spend that many resources in Eastern Washington, basically calling it a solid red district. And you can see why, again, here, Kathy McMorris Rodgers leading 59-41. Pretty much a solid red district, as it's always been. Now, Joshua, I want to go back actually to that race I was just talking about with Jenny Graham and Tom McGarry there. Jenny Graham, actually, we had some breaking news just last night that she was infected with COVID-19. And what's interesting about her, she's actually one of the Republicans who's been saying people should wear masks. So she's not necessarily against mask use or anything like that, but it was interesting to see a candidate in 2020 coming down with COVID. I guess it was kind of just a matter of time before that would happen. It didn't seem obviously to affect her electability at all, though.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier some of the controversies that came from her stances regarding that Facebook post, regarding some of the other controversial opinions that she had. How did that kind of play out, by the way, heading into the primary? Was there any kind of fallout before or afterwards, maybe heading into the general election, just for clarification for voters out there?
There was certainly, it seemed to be fallout in the press anyway. Obviously, reporters don't like getting cursed at, and people don't necessarily really like people sharing wild conspiracy theories on Facebook. Some of those conspiracy theories talked about like literal lizard people, so it was pretty shocking stuff. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people don't necessarily care about the controversy that much. At least it looked like at the voting booth, people were voting for the candidate they believed was most in line with them on policy, and that makes sense in the 6th district, leaning conservative, that they would still go with the Republican candidate. She is also, done a lot of stuff in Olympia that 6th district voters clearly liked. They are right now looking like they're going to give her another term in the state capitol.
Yeah, very conservative area as well, Casey. We're going to continue to break down more elections here throughout the morning. I want to thank you, Casey, for joining us this morning. We're also a little bit later on this morning talking with Vicki Dalton in Spokane County for the latest updates on the status with counting elections and counting those ballots, and any updates regarding local elections as well. And of course, while we talk about Washington, it is a postmarked ballot state, with some of those last-minute voters out there may have to still wait for their ballots to be approved. So how could you check up on your status? Dana Marie McNichol joins us live to tell us how you can keep track of your ballot today. Good morning, Dana Marie.
Good morning. That's right. A majority of Washington voters return their ballots before the election. However, some are still coming in. Now, if you did postmark your ballot by 8 p.m. last night, it still counts. So this morning, I'm going to walk you through the process of how to track your ballot and make sure it still counts. Now, all Washington voters can track their ballot on votewa.gov. Now type in your first and last name along with your birth date at that website. It will bring you to your personal homepage. There you can track the ballot, track the status of your ballot. If it says received, it is at the elections office, but is still being reviewed. If it says accepted, your vote is complete and then counted. If it reads rejection or challenged, there is an issue with your ballot. And election leaders say a common mistake is that voters forget to sign their ballot or the signature does not match records. So in that case, election leaders will contact you. Now, it is important to note that voter turnout is still coming in terms of percentage. 71% of votes have been received here in Spokane County. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you very much, Dana Marie. And while we're on the subject, still here on Up with KREM, Spokane County Auditor Vicki Dalton will join us live to talk about this year's election turnout coming up.
And we're checking in on the presidential election results. Many states are still too close to call, but we'll give you any updates we've received so far.
And we are going to take a look outside, let you know about our changing weather pattern and what that means for the remainder of the week and as we head into the weekend.